Welcome back from the ad break, and let's continue with more application questions. So we are going to still stick to comparing integers, but now it actually becomes a little bit more tricky. Now we actually have to look at a small calculation first before we can determine which one is bigger or smaller or equals to it. So the first one that I have there is a -1 plus 4. And we need to determine if that calculation is smaller, bigger, or equals to 6 minus 5. Now I have a -1 plus 4. What do you think the answer is going to be? If you are thinking of 3, then you are absolutely correct. What about 6 minus 5? Do you know what the answer for that is? Yes, you are correct. It is 1. Now that we've calculated it, we can determine which one is smaller and which one is bigger, because now we are easily comparing 3 and 1. So, is 3 smaller than 1 or bigger than 1? Because we know it is not equals to 1. What do you think? Yes, 3 is bigger than 1. So it means that the expression here above, -1 plus 4, is bigger than 6 minus 5. Then we have -1 plus a -6. And we are comparing that to a -2 minus a 4. So we are adding two negative numbers, so we know that the answer there is going to be negative. So that is going to be a -7. And we are comparing that with a -2 minus 6, which we know is going, a -2 minus 4, which we know the answer is going to be a -6. So now I can easily compare those two. Which one is smaller or which one is bigger between -7 and -6? You are correct. It's a close one, but -7 is smaller than -6. So it means that that expression above there, -1 plus -6, is smaller than -2 minus 4. Then we have a -13 minus 5. So what is -13 minus 5? While you are thinking about that, we are comparing it with 13 plus 5. So what is the answer for -13 minus 5? If you have a -18, you are correct. Well done to you. And we are going to compare that with a +18, because 13 plus 5 is a +18. So which one is bigger and which one is smaller? Remember, they might look the same, but that sign indicates a lot, because one of those numbers is smaller than 0 and the other number is bigger than 0. So which one is bigger and which one is smaller? Yes, because -18 is on the left side, it is the one that is smaller than a +18, because +18 is found on the right side of the number line. Let's look at more application questions. So, number 1 says there, at 5 a.m. in Bloemfontein, the temperature was -5 degrees Celsius. At 1 p.m., it rose to 19 degrees Celsius. By how many degrees did the temperature rise? So we had a specific temperature, but then it changed later on to a different temperature, and we need to find out by how many degrees that temperature went up. Now, we are at 19 degrees currently, but the first temperature was at a -5 degrees Celsius. And we need to see what is the difference between the temperature that we have now and the temperature that was before. Remember to look at those key words, right? So we have 19 minus a -5. And remember, when we are subtracting a negative number, it is the same as adding its additive inverse. So the additive inverse of -5 is a +5. And when we think of 19 plus 5, that will give us 24 degrees Celsius. It means that from -5 degrees Celsius, this temperature went up by 24 degrees, and then it is now at 19 degrees Celsius. Let's go on to number 2. Kamogelo swims 150 meters below the surface of the sea. She moves 78 meters towards the surface. How far below the surface is she now? So because we are now saying that Kamogelo is below, so remember, she is swimming underneath the water. So we are going to indicate that below with a negative. So we are going to say she is currently at a negative 150 meters. Then she is moving 78 meters towards. Now towards means she's moving in a different direction. So she was at negative 150, but now she's moving towards. By how many meters? By 78 meters. And we are going to indicate that difference in direction with a positive. So that is going to be a negative 150 plus 78 meters, right? And when we are going to calculate, or when we calculate negative 150 plus 78, that is going to give us a negative 72. And we know that that negative indicates to us that Kamogelo is still below the surface of the sea. So that means that she is 72 meters below the surface of the sea. Let's go on to our third example. It reads, one trench in the ocean is 800 meters deep and another is 2,200 meters deep. What is the difference in their depth? So they are all deep, meaning they are all in the same direction. So for us to simply find out what is the difference in their depth, we are going to say the 2,200 and we are going to subtract the 800 meters. And when we say 2,200 minus 800, that is simply going to give us an answer of 1,400 meters. That means that the difference in these depths is going to be 1,400 meters. Let's go to number 4. So number 4 reads, an island has a mountain which is 1,200 meters high. The surroundings ocean has a depth of 860 meters. What is the difference in height? Now you need to be very careful here. We cannot simply take the numbers and subtract them from each other. We are talking about a mountain that is 1,200 meters. And then we are talking about the sea that is 860 meters deep, right? So how do we find out what is the height from this highest point to that lowest point? So we are simply going to say 1,200 meters because that's the height of that. And because we are looking for the difference between those two lengths, those two heights, we are going to say subtract a negative 860. And that 860 is only negative because we are talking about a depth, right? So we have 1,200 minus a negative 860. Remember, if I am subtracting a negative number, it is the same as adding its additive inverse. So the additive inverse of a negative 860 will be a positive 860. And that means our answer here is going to be 2,060 meters. So the total length from here, which is the highest point, to at the bottom of the sea, which is the lowest point, that distance will be 2,060 meters. Let's move on to our last example, and it reads there. On a winter's day in Uppington, the temperature rose by 18 degrees Celsius. If the minimum temperature was negative 4 degrees Celsius, what was the maximum temperature? So we only know what the temperature was, and we know about how many degrees it rose. But now we don't know what was that maximum temperature. So how are we going to calculate that? We start at negative 4 degrees Celsius, and because we know it rose, and rising is indicated by a plus, so it rose by how many degrees? By 18 degrees. How are we going to work that out? We know that because now we are adding a bigger number to a smaller number, our answer is going to be a positive 1. And then, what is negative 4 plus 18? That answer is going to be our 14. So it means that our temperature from negative 4 is now sitting at a positive 14 degrees Celsius. Why? Because it rose by 18 degrees Celsius. All right, let's quickly go to an ad break and then we'll see you just now.